The doors of the automotive plant swing open, and for the first time, a vehicle emerges that no one outside those walls yet knows. 4 wheels, a steel body, a canvas top pulled taut over a metal frame, a modest engine, all-wheel drive. Nothing spectacular at first glance, but this vehicle is about to travel the world. It's called the GAZ-69. Over the next 2 decades, it will transport soldiers, commanders, scouts, and gunners to every corner of the Soviet Union and at least 56 other countries. More than 600,000 units will be manufactured. It will serve in wars with no official names, in deserts, in permafrost, in Central American jungles, and across the steppes of Central Asia. But to understand how it came to exist, we have to go back 12 years, to a black and white photograph sitting on a workbench in Moscow. March 1941. The Soviet Union is not yet at war, though many in the general staff know it soon will be. Among the documents circulating through Red Army offices is something unusual: images of an American vehicle, the Bantam BRC-Me. One of the first prototypes of what the world would eventually know as the Jeep. Soviet engineers study those photographs with care. They understand what they're looking at, and they realize the Red Army has nothing like it. 3 months later, on June 22, 1941, Operation Barbarossa changes everything. 3 million German soldiers cross the border, 3,600 tanks, nearly 2,700 planes. The largest land invasion in history. The first few weeks are a disaster. Entire armies are encircled. Territory is lost at a speed no one had calculated. In that moment of chaos, the Red Army discovers something it already suspected. It needs mobility. Not tanks, not artillery. Something light, fast, capable of going where armored vehicles can't. A reconnaissance vehicle, a command platform, and a transport that can keep pace with modern warfare. The Americans have it. The British envy it. And through the Lend-Lease program signed by Roosevelt in March 1941, more than 50,000 Jeeps will reach Soviet soil during the war. The Willys MB and the Ford GPW, 2 different vehicles built from the same blueprint. Mass-produced, reliable, agile, and well-built. The Soviet soldiers love them. The steering is precise. The brakes work. The engine starts when it's supposed to. Compared to Soviet vehicles of the time, the Jeep is a revelation, and the Soviet leadership takes note. If they can do it, so can we. Even before the invasion began, on February 3, 1941, engineer Vitaly Grachev received an order that seems absurd today. Develop a prototype for a light 4-wheel drive vehicle in 50 days. 50 days to design a military 4x4 from scratch. 50 days during which, simultaneously, the country was bracing for the bloodiest war in its history. Grachev worked with what he had. The photographs of the Bantam BRC, available components from other GAZ models, and the collective knowledge of previous attempts. This wasn't the first Soviet try, after all. In 1938, engineer Arashev's GAZ-61 had proven it was possible to mount all-wheel drive on a vehicle based on the M1 civilian sedan. Fewer than 240 units were made. The concept worked, but the scale didn't. On March 25, 1941, the prototype was ready. It was named the GAZ-R1, and also known as the Razvedchik, or Scout. Testing began immediately. The vehicle wasn't perfect, but it worked. And under those circumstances, that was enough. June 1941, with German forces advancing, the GAZ-64 enters production. It's based on Grachev's prototype, using the engine from the GAZ-MM truck. 4 cylinders, 3.3 liters, 54 horsepower. The chassis is a shortened version of the GAZ-61. There's no time for further refinement. War doesn't wait for perfect designs. Between 1941 and the summer of 1942, 684 units are built. Then, production stops. Not because the vehicle fails, but because the BA-64 armored car, which uses the same chassis, takes priority. Steel has to go where it's needed most, and the American Jeeps keep arriving. But development doesn't stop. In September 1943, the GAZ-69 appears. An improved version with one fundamental fix. The front and rear track is widened from 1,250 to 1,446 millimeters. The GAZ-64 was notoriously unstable on uneven ground. The 67 solves that problem. It isn't more powerful, it isn't faster, but it's safer, more robust, and better suited for actual service. The GAZ-67 is manufactured from 1943 to 1953, nearly 10 years, approximately 92,800 units. It serves side by side with American Jeeps, and in a head-to-head comparison, it always falls short. The steering is heavier, the brakes are less responsive, the build quality is lower, and any soldier who has driven both knows it. But the GAZ-67 has one advantage the Jeep can't match. It's Soviet. Its parts are in Soviet warehouses, its mechanics speak Russian. When it breaks, the fix arrives in hours, not months. And when the war ends, when the United States is no longer an ally, that will matter more than any technical specification. 1946. The war is over. The Soviet Union is destroyed and exhausted, but it has something it didn't have in 1941. Time. And the order comes down. Develop a definitive successor to the GAZ-67. The requirements are clear. All-wheel drive. An 800-kilogram payload capacity. The engine from the GAZ-M20 Pobeda civilian sedan. The same 2.1-liter, 55-horsepower unit already in production. Lower fuel consumption than the 67, capable of operating between 40 degrees below zero and 50 degrees above. The full range of the Soviet climate. The design team is led by Grigory Wasserman at the Gorky plant, including several of the same engineers who worked on the wartime models. They know the GAZ-67's flaws. They know the user's complaints. This time there's no rush, they can do it right. The first prototypes appear in 1947 under the working name Truzhenik, or Worker. The tests are exhaustive. Roads, mud, snow, rivers, slopes, ditches, everything the vehicle would encounter in real service. By 1948, new prototypes incorporate the lessons learned. The design matures, and then nothing. Production approval doesn't come, not because the vehicle fails, but because the factory is overwhelmed. The Pobeda is in production. The GAZ-51 truck is in development. The GAZ-53 is waiting its turn. The Army still has Jeeps. The GAZ-67B is still being built. The urgency just isn't there. The prototypes sit in the workshop. 1948, 1949, 1950, 1951. In mid-1951, the State Commission finally evaluates the vehicles. The results are good. Performance is acceptable. Approval arrives. But production still doesn't start. The final solution is to transfer manufacturing to the Ulyanovsk automobile plant, UAZ, a smaller facility that can focus on the GAZ-69 more efficiently. The plan is set. Now it just has to be executed. August 25, 1953. Finally, 7 years from the first prototype to the first production vehicle. Longer than the entire Second World War, but the result reflects that long, careful process. The engine is the 2.1-liter inline-4 from the Pobeda. 55 horsepower at 3,600 revolutions per minute. It's not a powerhouse. It's not meant to be. It's economical, reliable, and familiar to every mechanic in the Soviet Union. The 3-speed manual transmission has a floor shifter. The 2-speed transfer case offers one range for tough terrain and another for the road. Simple, predictable, maintainable. The suspension uses leaf springs on both axles with rigid axles, smoother than those on the GAZ-69. The result is a noticeably better ride quality for the passengers. Luxury, but a concession to the reality that this vehicle will be driven thousands of hours a year. The dimensions are compact, 3.85 meters long, 1.75 wide, a 2.3 meter wheelbase, a curb weight of 1,525 kilograms, 210 millimeters of ground clearance. It can wade through 60 centimeters of water, clear 30 centimeter vertical obstacles, and climb 58% inclines. Top speed, 90 kilometers per hour. Range, about 400 kilometers on a 60-liter tank. 2 variants are produced from the start. And the standard GAZ-69, 2 doors, 8 seats, an open body with a canvas top. For military use, scouting and troop transport. Then there's the GAZ-69A, 4 doors, 5 seats, a more enclosed body with a trunk, for officials, agricultural cooperatives, and civilian uses that require something a bit more presentable. 2 versions of the same vehicle, for 2 different worlds, living within the same nation. The GAZ-69 gradually replaces the GAZ-67 and the American Jeeps. The old vehicles wear out. The new ones arrive. By the early 60s, the GAZ-69 is the standard light 4x4 across the entire Soviet military. Reconnaissance units are the first to get them. They scout for the armored advance, identify enemy positions, and blaze trails for the tanks to follow. The GAZ-69 gives them the mobility they need. Fast, maneuverable, and able to go where larger vehicles can't. Commanding officers use it to move between positions. Radio units adapt it as a mobile communications post. And infantry use it for transport, liaison, and evacuation. Thousands of small tasks an army needs to solve every single day. And then there are the specialized versions. The 2 K-15 Schmel, 4 anti-tank rockets mounted on the GAZ-69 chassis. Light, mobile, capable of destroying armor. The GAZ-69 DIM, a mine detector capable of locating explosives up to 70 centimeters deep. The P-125 Alphabet, a mobile command vehicle with communication systems to coordinate operations. The GE-96 RK GEM, equipped for nuclear and chemical contamination detection, designed for the atomic battlefield scenarios that Soviet planners took very seriously during the 50s and 60s. The basic design, that simple chassis with its modest engine, turns out to be flexible enough to serve wildly different purposes. That's no accident. It's the result of 7 years of careful development. The success of the GAZ-69 doesn't stop at the Soviet borders. The Warsaw Pact countries are the first to receive it: Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, Romania. Equipment standardization among Allied armies, common parts, common procedures, military logic. But its reach goes much further. Egypt, Syria, Iraq. Indonesia orders 4,400 units. Cambodia, Vietnam, North Korea, Cuba, Yemen, Somalia. In total, more than 56 countries operate the GAZ-69, a number that speaks to the vehicle's value better than any spec sheet ever could. Some countries aren't content just importing it. Romania manufactures it under license, first as the IMS-57, and later as the Muscle M59 and M461. More than 20 years of Romanian production based on the same Soviet design, with local parts but the identical philosophy. North Korea obtains manufacturing rights and produces its own version. Records are scarce, as with almost everything from that country. But the vehicles appear in parade photos and active service footage. And then there's China. The Beijing BJ-212, developed in the 60s with clear GAZ-69 influence, had some components directly copied or adapted. It entered production in 1965 and continued to be manufactured until 2019. More than 50 years, millions of units. The longest production run of any GAZ-69 derivative and definitive proof that the basic design had a solid foundation its creators likely never imagined. In 1955, a GAZ-69 production is officially transferred to the Ulyanovsk Automobile Plant, UAZ. Gorky built the first units, established the process, and worked out the initial bugs. Now UAZ would take the torch for the next 17 years. Technically, the vehicle made in Ulyanovsk should be called the UAZ-69. No one calls it that. The GAZ-69 name sticks. Like Kleenex or Xerox, the original brand becomes the generic name for the product. The GAZ-69 is the GAZ-69, no matter who builds it. Soldiers give it nicknames: Gazik, the little gaze, affectionate familiar, or Koziol, the goat, for the way it climbs, for how it scrambles up where it shouldn't be able to, for how it appears in places where no vehicle has any business being. The name sticks because it describes something real. In 1970, the GAZ-6968 appears, an improved version with axles taken from the UAZ-452, the popular Bukanka van. Tougher components, better reliability. Solving the wear and tear issues identified after years of service. Incremental improvements, no revolutions. The Soviet style of development. Fix what breaks. Leave what works. 1972. After 19 years and more than 600,000 units, production of the GAZ-69 ends. Its replacement is the UAZ-469, developed by the same team, in the same factory, with the same philosophy. More powerful, more modern, more capable in several respects. Evolution, not revolution. The GAZ-69 is gradually retired to reserve units. Some go to warehouses, others to museums. The new generation takes over, but the legacy doesn't vanish. From the UAZ-469 came the UAZ-3151. From there, the UAZ Hunter, which is still being manufactured today. A direct, uninterrupted line from Grachev's first prototypes in 1941 to the vehicles rolling out of Ulyanovsk in 2025. The GAZ-69 is in the DNA of all of them. In 2023, Ukrainian soldiers in the Donetsk region found a 1950s GAZ-69A, and it had been abandoned in a garage or warehouse for decades. They repaired it. They fired it up. After more than 70 years, the vehicle ran again. It's not an isolated case. Collectors across Eastern Europe, Russia, and the Baltics track down units in various states of decay. They restore them with parts from scrapped GAZ-69s, Romanian Muscle M461s, or Chinese BJ212s. Whatever fits, whatever works. The goal is to preserve something that says more about post-war Soviet engineering than any technical manual. Museums in several countries keep examples on display. Each one is a time capsule, a physical object that connects directly to the decades when the Cold War defined the world. And in popular culture, the GAZ-69 has found a strange permanence. It appears in movies, TV shows, and video games set in the Soviet era. And its silhouette is instantly recognizable to anyone who has ever seen footage from that period. The canvas top, the short proportions, the angular shapes. Even those who don't know its name know it belongs to that world. The movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull included a GAZ-69 in one of its chase scenes. Soviet forces, Soviet mobility, the vehicle doing exactly what it was designed to do. Move fast, through anything. There's a photograph from the 60s that sums up the GAZ-69 perfectly. A group of Soviet recruits standing next to one of these vehicles, somewhere in the Soviet Union. Young men, likely serving their 2 years of mandatory service. Posing naturally. without solemnity. The GAZ-69 is their work tool, not a symbol. To them, the vehicle is just the vehicle. It starts almost every time. It goes where it needs to go. It breaks down once in a while. It gets fixed with basic tools and patience. There's nothing epic about that. Just work. And yet, that everyday object represents something that wasn't obvious at the time. It represents the end of a process that began with photographs of an American vehicle on a table in 1941. It represents the decision not to depend on foreign technology. It represents years of rejected prototypes, of factories busy with other priorities, of commissions that approve but don't execute. When it finally rolls off the assembly line in 1953, though the GAZ-69 isn't the best 4x4 in the world, it isn't as good as the Jeep that inspired it. Its brakes are weaker, its engine less modern, its finish rougher. All of that is true. But it's Soviet. Completely Soviet. Designed, manufactured, maintained, and operated without depending on anyone else. And in the context of the Cold War, in a country that had seen firsthand what it meant to depend on allies who could suddenly stop being allies, that was worth more than any technical refinement. More than 600,000 units, 19 years of production, 40 years of active service, 56 countries, and a bloodline that reaches into the present day. The GAZ-69, the GAZ-69, the GOAT. It wasn't the best. It was enough. And, in many contexts, being enough for long enough is exactly what it means to matter.